So 6 years ago, I made a video talking about Terraria in Japan because I'd recently learned that the Japanese editions of Terraria came with some exclusive items. Now, at the time, we'd had console exclusives, but we'd never seen anything like this before, where certain items were actually locked to a certain region of the game's player base. And for a long time, I really wanted to play these versions of Terraria. And finally, I can say, I now own them. And I've actually played them as well. So going into this, I knew that the PlayStation Vita had 2 exclusive vanity sets, and the PlayStation 3 had 2 separate exclusive vanity sets. So my goal was I would play through both editions and show you all of the exclusive items. What I discovered though was something entirely different, so let me show you my adventure. But before the adventure begins, you may be able to spot by looking below the video that we are so close to 1 million subscribers. So if you like today's video, please do consider hitting that button. It's completely free. You can change your mind later, but it really helps the channel. So I decided to tackle the PlayStation Vita first in pursuit of getting both the Toro and the Monomi set. Now, to get both of these, all I need to do is obtain a cloth a year, wait till a blood moon, and then purchase both of the sets for 60 gold each. A big reason why I picked the Vita first is because I actually haven't played it before, and it was quite funny when I first booted up the game. I actually spent about 3 minutes walking around trying to figure out how do I change what's in my hotbar. I just couldn't rack my head around it before I realized that, hey, the PlayStation Vita has a touchscreen, and all you need to do is just tap with your finger. So with this in mind, I decided to spend my first day building a bunch of homes. If we were to get the cloth a year, we'd need available housing, so I wanted to get this out the way at the very start. And I have to say, once you're slightly used to the controls, it's actually pretty fun building with the PlayStation Vita version. It does have a smart cursor that will place the back wall for you. However, it doesn't really work as well as it does in modern Terraria. So I did find myself just building everything manually, but it was fun. So the version that came loaded on the physical cartridge is actually Terraria 1.1, which first launched in December 2011. And with that nostalgia in mind, I decided to head underground and start looking around for any ore I could find, or just anything to give me that slight advantage. It wasn't long, however, before I found myself in a pool of water and just drowned to death. Not the best start, admittedly, but I actually had enough ore to get working on some better tools so that I could start working on a elevator. And here's the thing, like I said, this version has smart cursor, but it isn't very smart. So when you build a elevator, it decides that it wants to build it in a row of 3 instead of the modern row of 2. It's a little bit odd, but you just gotta work with what you've got. Now, it wasn't long before I realized that the minimap was actually a very helpful tool because it would show you things that you haven't necessarily seen that might have just been out of your field of view. So it actually helped me find this house. And look at this. Look at this nostalgia. I love that bookcase. And inside was a cloud in a bottle. Banger accessory. I also went on to find a blue mushroom biome, and I say this all the time, this is peak Terraria nostalgia for me. I love the look of these biomes. But it wasn't long until we met our demise once again. Thank you very much, Mother Slime. It's not like I needed those limbs. Hey, good to know that the Japanese edition is not censored. So I ended up playing this version for about 2 hours, and I had a blast, but it was getting late. I headed to bed. So I put the PlayStation Vita down. Now, when I woke up, I was actually greeted to this. The game had auto-updated itself to Terraria 1.2, and I was kind of freaking out about this. What if in this update they removed all the exclusive items? How was I to know? I was too early into the adventure to really have a grasp of anything, but I decided to just push on and try 1.2, see what it's like. Now, I was having a good time playing 1.1, but the benefits of 1.2 kicked in immediately. It's actually using a brand new camera system that adds a little bit of a screen wobble. It's actually quite nice, and you're also able to walk up 1 block tiles, which when you played so much Terraria, going back to jumping every 10 seconds, this is like a breath of fresh air. Now, 1.2 does add a lot to the world, so I decided it would probably be better if I generated a new world. I hadn't made too much progress on this original one, and we could always get caught up. So the best part about 1.2 is that the early game is so much easier. I feel like you find chest after chest after chest, and stuff like the climbing gear makes it easier to navigate. Umbrellas are great if you want to float around. Getting recall potions makes it easier to head back to the home base. 1.2 is just a banger update. Not only that, we don't just have caverns to explore anymore, but we also have the ice biome. And even though I wouldn't find anything particularly amazing in here, it was great to just see it in action. Also, take a look at this new death screen. Way more sinister. I like this. So I decided to get things back on track and actually get working on some houses. Now, you may be wondering, how am I actually able to play this version of the game considering everything is written in Japanese? And that's why this video took so long to produce. I didn't want to play this version until I'd spent the years actually learning Japanese. Nah, don't worry, that's a complete lie. It's just I played too much Terraria. So with progression in mind, I decided to head to the jungle. At this point, we already had a sword, a bow, and a grapple hook. So I had a good shot at getting myself some jungle armor. And it wasn't long before we started to find jungle shrines and even jungle spores, which can sometimes be a bit of a nuisance to find in a new world. The plan in the jungle, though, was to just take it slow. Instead of falling through caverns, I decided to create my own tunnels and really try and hang back whenever an enemy was present, so that I could pick it off slowly. So the thing about console Terraria is that for a while it had its own exclusive enemies, and these kind of threw off the balancing a little bit. They're always a lot harder than regular enemies, and trying to kill them can be a bit of a nightmare, but they do have exclusive items, and I managed to find one. So for the rest of the adventure, I had my own hornet following me around. This was actually kind of cool. So very slowly over the next hour, I just took my time, I gathered resources whenever possible, tried to avoid being poisoned to death, which seemed to happen quite a lot. But after a while, I finally had all the ingredients I needed for jungle armor. So to celebrate this, I decided to go hunting in the skies for floating islands. And not before long, I actually managed to find a lucky horseshoe, one of my favorite accessories in the game. So with some good accessories and some good armor, I decided now was a good time to get tackling some of those bosses. So I decided to begin with the Eye of Cthulhu for very obvious reasons. And I will say, playing on a PlayStation Vita with a smaller screen, it actually makes this fight pretty fun because it's a little bit more atmospheric when the eyeball really feels like something that's giant. So the reason I decided to do the Eye of Cthulhu was to actually obtain a demon bone, the weapon I would likely use against Skeletron, but I needed to go back underground to actually look for a pair of Hermes Boots. Now, take a little look at this RNG. You have one golden chest right on top of the other, but it's a flare gun, so screw RNG. Nah, I'm just kidding. A couple of minutes later, we actually managed to find Hermes Boots, so we now have everything we need for Skeletron. So throughout my adventure, I had a clear path in my head. We needed to beat Skeletron, obtain a cloth a year, save up 1.2 platinum to buy both of the vanity sets, and then once that was done, I could start a brand new adventure and hunt for the other 2 vanity sets that are available on the PlayStation 3. So defeating Skeletron was almost like step 1. So with that, Skeletron was defeated and I decided to descend down into the dungeon. Thank you very much, World RNG. This sand is absolutely incredible. And what happened after that isn't really important. All I'm really trying to do is just obtain and sell to get enough money so that when a blood moon hits, we actually have everything required to buy those 2 vanity sets. So at this point, I'm feeling really good. I've got my clothier, I've got all my money saved up. All I need to do is wait for a blood moon, buy those vanity sets, and the adventure is over. But that actually isn't what happened. So I was keeping a close eye on the phases of the moon because I was interested to see whether some of those PlayStation 3 items were maybe left in this version of the game. So when it hit full moon, I headed up to the clothier, and yeah, these items, which are not meant to be in this version, are in this version. So this is actually called the Shiren set, and it was implemented to replace the plumber set because developers were actually a little bit nervous that Nintendo might be a little bit upset about Red sneaking Mario into the game. But this shouldn't be possible. This vanity set should not be here, but it is. So what else is broken? I don't know. So with this in mind, I decided to run an experiment, and all I had to do was move the Dryad into the blue mushroom biome and purchase from her a couple of blue mushroom seeds. Now in regular Terraria, this would make green dye, but when I tested it on the Vita, it made white, which is only meant to happen in the PlayStation 3 version of the game. This is because when you combine white dye, black dye, and also silk, you get that exclusive vanity set. So this set is actually the Monokuma set from the game franchise Danganronpa. Yeah, terrible pronunciation, don't blame me. but here it was in the Vita version. So the timing of this could not have gone any better. I decided to wield this set to see what it looks like. It's an incredible design. I really feel like this one is definitely the better of the two, but it wasn't long until I needed to wield a pistol to slay goblins. Now, I don't know how this company feels about their mascot, but seeing it wield a gun is goofy. It's kind of incredible. That's the world of Terraria, right? So at this point, I was beginning to panic. Here I have two vanity sets that apparently don't exist in this version of the game, according to the Terraria wiki. And I'm really starting to think that maybe the Wikipedia was wrong. And for hours, I've been hunting for something that maybe doesn't even exist, and we'll talk about that in a minute. The truth behind these sets would all be revealed once we had a blood moon, so it was now a waiting game, and I decided to use that time actually trying to complete the Shiren set. It does come with a wig, and this wig is meant to replace the plumber's hat, so you obtain it in the exact same way. You need to kill fire imps, and it's a 1 in 250 chance every time you kill a fire imp. Now, I didn't mind this because I was waiting for a blood moon, and sticking around in hell is not even that bad. But that's only how I felt for the first half an hour. The next 5 hours, I actually spent cursing down Red for giving me terrible RNG. But you know what? It was worth the wait because I did eventually get that wig. And even though it looks pretty goofy, I'm really proud of myself for completing the set. To this day, nobody's ever videoed these sets. This is the first video of it, and I'm really happy I managed to pull that off. Here's the full set in action. What do you think? For me, I feel like the bear is way better than the Shiren set. The Shiren set is pretty good on the lower half, but that wig, what is up with that? It's so weird. It looks like a bit of warped cheese. I'm not about it. So with nothing else to grind for, I decided to take my PlayStation Vita everywhere with me and just leave it running in the background because I still hadn't had a blood moon. But then, as I was making spaghetti bolognese, I heard the music and I rushed upstairs to my computer to finally see these two vanity sets. And with my money in hand, everything ready to go, I interacted with the clothier and they don't exist. They're not in the game. And I don't even know if they were ever in the game. So here's the thing, these two vanity sets have been on the Terraria Wikipedia for years, and it's always been known that you get them from the PlayStation Vita version of Terraria. They were introduced at launch and never removed. But I can't find any evidence that these were implemented in the game. There's only one image of the Toro set on the internet that shows the set before the game was launched on the PlayStation Vita. I have a feeling that they were maybe never actually added, that maybe they were an idea, something that was going to be added, but never actually happened. Because if so, they would be here. So the cool thing about the Vita and the PlayStation 3 edition of Terraria is they had cross-save. So I was actually able to upload and download my world on the PlayStation 3 because I wanted to see if I was playing the PlayStation 3 version, could I get these sets? Maybe the Wikipedia's just been wrong about which platform. But no, seriously, they're just not here. Maybe they were never here. Now, I am definitely open to people that want to find evidence of these two sets. I would absolutely love it. If it requires me playing through the game again, I'll do it. Let me know how you get them. But for now, they're currently lost and unobtainable, which is a real shame. They looked pretty cool. But that's my experience with Japanese Terraria, and I will say playing on a Vita was sick. I love this edition of the game. It was so much fun, and I really do like these vanity sets. It was well worth the effort. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you really enjoyed it, please do consider clicking the subscribe button. But that's it. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.